avoid a lawsuit, for instance, right? This is actually a lawyer friend of mine recently described their job very well. He said, in his words, first person, he said, I scare people for money. The operative word being scare people.
That's being honest.
Yeah, he's being very honest. He scares people for money, and he's very good at it. And he understands how other people scare people for money, and he works both sides, in plaintiff or defense type situations. But, it made me realize that, a lot of the legal profession is not, okay, the lawsuit slid across the table. It's okay, here's what the lawsuit would look like. Here are all the statutes that potentially were violated. And then there's a probe of what somebody's finances are and, how much they're willing to pay, and do they have liability insurance? Do they have an umbrella policy? All the sorts of things that are really, it's not necessarily an illegal shakedown, but it's, a probing as to whether or not, it's worth the effort.
Diagnosing the other side's ability to pay.
You're right. And so that happens really often. I can give a specific example where somebody had an incident at a dog park where their dog allegedly ran into somebody, maybe charged at somebody. Dog park people are standing around, and the person moved and apparently injured their knee. But rather than sue the owner of the dog, what they typically do is deliver some set of documents that say, I was injured, your dog was responsible for this, and if you don't settle up for X number of dollars, you're going to be sued for usually an exorbitant amount above that.
Right.
And then there's this question that the lawyers have to figure out, is it puffery? Right? Are they saying, I'm going to sue you for $4 million? Is there any basis for that? And good lawyers will say, that's puffery. They're trying to scare you with a big number. But a lot of people see that number and go, oh my goodness, What do they want? You know what? I don't even know if they were injured. If they were, that's terrible. I'd want that taken care of. If my dog's responsible, I'd want that taken care of. But what do they need in order to make this go away?
Right.
And that happens millions of times a day throughout the country. And a good portion of those probably happen here in California because that's kind of the way the legal system is arranged.
Right.
So this is not somebody, it could be somebody manipulating the law. It could also be somebody who's being entirely honest about their experience of being injured by somebody else's dog. So under those conditions, it sounds like the same set of rules apply. You want to know how serious they are. Do they have a case, so to speak? That's the work of the lawyers. But in assessing how serious somebody is, you said it's fair. You called it the F word. I like that. I'll never forget that. Just ask a fair question, like how much money do you think you deserve? Or would that be a good example of a very direct question? Or is it how likely are you to walk away if we don't give you the money? Is there? Because I could imagine there's all sorts of reasons why people would be dishonest about answering those questions.
Well, and then how much money you think you deserve is a really good question. Not necessarily what the answer is, but how they answer it. You're going to get how quickly they fire back and whether or not they stop and think about it. How and what questions typically are best to judge the other side's reaction, and the answer is secondary. Because the how or what question causes what we would refer to as deep thinking, slow thinking, Danny Kahneman, behavioral economics, thinking fast and slow. Slow thinking is in-depth thinking. You ask a how or what question to make the other side think first and judge their reaction to how they think about it. And do they actually think about it, or do they fire right back at you? That gives you a clearer picture of who you're dealing with, where the outcome is going to go. How much money do you think that you deserve if they immediately, $10 million? All right, so I got a shakedown artist on the other side. Or they say, all right, if they stop and think about it and they give you a thoughtful answer, that's a completely different person on the other side. You're asking a question to diagnose how they respond first. The answer is second. And sometimes if it's a cutthroat on the other side, I'm going to start peppering them with how and what questions just to wear them out. That's passive aggression. If I got a cutthroat aggressor on the other side, I'm going to drop into passive aggressive behavior to slow them down and wear them out. one of my hostage negotiation heroes, a guy named Johnny Pico, was John Domenico Pico, not Johnny like Johnny Rockets, Italian Johnny, John Domenico. Got all the Western hostages out of Beirut in the mid-'80s. Wrote a book called Man Without a Gun, negotiated in person, face-to-face with Hezbollah. The only guy that ever did that, got everybody out. And in his book, he wrote, one of the great secrets to negotiation is learning how to exhaust the other side. And when you've got a really dangerous adversary on the other side of the table, you don't go nose to nose, you don't argue, you're not combative, you wear them out, exhaust them. And if you got somebody really combative or cutthroat on the other side, start peppering them with how and what questions, because to even think about the answer, it tires them out. And it's passive aggressive, and it's deferential, and it really works.
So if the person on the opposite side of a high friction negotiation is aggressive, the goal is to slow things down, fatigue them, and get them to just either relent or to reveal something that's a loophole.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. If I have to make the deal, then I'm going to wear them out.